Welcome to another Lightning Strikes Twice with your favorite hosts on the entire YouTubes. That's me and Eric over there. So we have 5 minutes apiece and one topic per person, and the other person doesn't know what the other person is going to say. The third person is you. So you're the watcher, and you're going to see 10 minutes of things that you have no idea about. And that's how that works. So, Eric, take it away.
Okay, so mine, I guess, well, we just in the US just went through an election cycle and stuff. And I just thought, well, why not have like a politics related topic? And to make it stay short, um, what do you think about dog mayors?
What?
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
like electing a dog as a mayor?
Yes, it's actually happened multiple times. It's usually smaller towns and stuff that do that, but people have elected a goat, I think, one time, or and a cat. But there a whole bunch of dogs have been elected mayor.
Well, it could hardly do worse.
Yeah, that's true.
I
Usually it's kind of symbolic, but it's like, hey, they did actually win the popular vote. So technically speaking, this dog is now mayor.
what like so they don't actually let the dog run things, right? Like
I think it's like the second whoever is like second in command will do all the running and signing of things, but the dog is basically technically the mayor.
that's
Um,
funny. That's super funny. Like where do you draw the line at like what's a legitimate person to be the mayor,
mhm.
because what if I identify as a dog? What if I'm Snoop Dogg and I
Yeah.
run for mayor?
Well, Donald Duck wins, like
Right?
gets a lot of votes in some places. So it's like, yeah, what if Donald Duck won the popular vote for president of the U.S.? What
I mean,
what then?
cartoon is a little different than a living being.
That's true, yeah. But I
I
mean,
definitely
still,
see that line demarcation there.
yeah, it's typically mostly symbolic and stuff. And I think there's one town that like just consistently always has a dog mayor, basically. It's just tradition now that they pick a dog and the dog is like the star of the show and gets paraded around and stuff. And I think it's cool because it's like it sort of pokes fun at the whole political system.
Yeah,
And yeah, and it kind of brings people together because like who doesn't like a dog, right? Like a dog doesn't have any kind of political leanings. It's a fucking dog, you know.
right.
Like everybody can get behind that.
Like, what if you just like instead of people running for office, what if you just said vote for whoever lives in the jurisdiction, whatever it
Mm.
is, a city mayor, a state governor, anyone in the country could be president, whatever, and
Mm.
just go with the popular vote. Like whoever gets the most votes, just call them up on the phone and be like, guess what? You're president now,
Yeah.
like
Well,
why
and
not?
that's
Like
we've talked about this before, as having it be kind of like a lottery, almost like jury
mhm.
duty, where just like jury duty, you just randomly get a letter in the mail. They're like, "Oh, you're a
But
juror."
that's not quite a lottery. There's a little bit of intention to it. Like if
Yeah.
people actually did take that seriously, they would honestly think, who do I know that would run shit really well? Like who's the
Yeah.
smartest person I know? Like people would go off of like who's the smartest rather than like who's got the most money or who's the most red or blue or
Yeah.
like
I honestly believe if we're going to have any kind of election system, there should be some kind of a test, a skill set test that somebody has to go through to prove that, like, what, or not just skills, but biases, right? If you could be the most unbiased and the most competent person, then now you're allowed to run. I think that would
yeah.
make sense because I mean, look at the kind of incompetence that rises to the top around here, like in the U.S. and probably elsewhere in the world too. It's not the most capable people. They're typically kind of dumb. Um,
Now I don't know. I don't know about like for judges, absolutely like trying to get the most objective
mhm,
person. But
yeah.
when it comes to other things, like the whole centrist thing, I don't really buy into. Like the answer is not always in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just doesn't work that way. Like we're not designed to be like everything's perfect right in the middle. Like
Yeah, yeah.
some.
Well, and that is the thing. There are various views within um,
Mhm.
uh, the population, and they all need a time in the light to have representation.
Yeah,
And you do need a little bit of counterpoint. Kind of, there's got to be a yin and yang essentially for things to be balanced. If not, well, if it's all the same, homogenous, then well, bad things can happen. Um,
yeah,
so it's good to have a little bit of this side and that side to some extent. Well, not necessarily. I don't like the political division, but when it comes
yeah,
to the like ideas that people have about things,
yeah,
individual things that causes or whatever, that those are the things that we can definitely um,
yeah.
like be
Like
divided about.
like it's high time we had a cat mayor.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Always the dogs winning.
Well, yeah, I know. Oh, yeah. Well, that's time. It's a
Is
good
a
one.
good way to wrap up.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Well, then it's your turn.
um, I guess this is also could be seen as political, but more philosophical.
Okay.
Does anybody really change their mind ever?
Like in what way? Like context? Like
Just any context, like whatever held belief people have, they seem really stuck to them, like really hard fast. And oftentimes, if they do change their mind, they'll end up changing it back at some,
well,
you
I
know?
think a lot of times they kind of change their mind begrudgingly. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. That I mean, I have over time. I definitely see things completely different than I did when I was say 16,
Hmm.
or even when I was in my 20s. I have completely altered my views on so many things, and I'm still doing that. Like that is an active thing for me, and maybe I'm weird in that regard, that I'm abnormal, in that I'm always self-analyzing and trying to logically justify everything, every view that I have about things. And if new information comes in, I take that in and put that into the mix, because things change all the time.
Yeah.
Science in particular, technology and stuff like that. I'll
Yeah.
still say that Android and iPhone sucks ass. I don't think that's ever going to change.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good example. Like, you know, cell phones, like smartphones, that they're undeniably like a very useful tool.
Mm-hmm.
But, the stuff at the forefront is just all this flash and glitter and stuff, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
really like that useful.
No.
Like it would make more sense if people kind of change their minds on like what brand they want to buy and go for something with a little bit more utility to it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, and we can talk about like religion is a good example of that. That people have these deeply held beliefs that it's almost impossible to guide them to some kind of understanding or even have a logical conversation. Flat earthers, that's another thing. Like you can't have a conversation because it's like you basically every point you bring up, however logical and however factual it might be, is immediately dismissed. And because they're
Yeah,
starting from the position of like, this is what I believe, this is what is true, and anything that contradicts it must be problematic. And so it's like, yeah, I don't know.
yeah. It's so weird how like these deeply held beliefs blind people to obvious truths.
Yeah.
Like especially with religion.
Mm-hmm.
Being that like you can show somebody, the earth is not flat, or
Mm-hmm.
the earth is way older than 6,000 years,
Yeah.
like you can be like, here's the evidence, blah, blah, blah. And they'll be like, yeah, well, the devil put that there.
Or they'll come up with some kind of really weird, twisted. mental arithmetic to work around that
Mhm.
and be like, well, actually, but it's like, okay, how many times do you have to be shown pieces of evidence that support a particular thing before you can at least entertain the idea? Like, I don't having conversations with people, I don't expect to change their mind or like win an argument or whatever, but it's like, okay, a little at a time, that kind of thing. But when I have conversations with people I disagree with, I'm always open to whatever argument they want to present. Like, yeah, I'll hear you out. Sure. If it's one I've already heard before and already have a point that you know that easily dismisses that, fine. But I'll listen to whatever people have to say and consider it, because I don't fucking care if I'm right. Doesn't matter. I don't know jack shit, honestly. Like, anything's possible. you know
Yeah.
So why can't other people be like that? Like, at least listen to something and consider it. Don't the conversation ought to be about the topic that you're conversing about. And so often it kind of devolves into this like argument about the people who are arguing something.
Right.
And that's not constructive whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like in politics, for instance, it's always like uh I forget the name of this particular logical fallacy, but like somebody says Trump did this thing or that thing, and then somebody will be like, "Yeah, well, Obama did blah blah blah." And it's like,
Oh,
what does
isn't
that
that
have to do
kind
with
of a
today?
that's kind of a whataboutism, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's and it probably falls under the umbrella of a red herring too. It's like, well,
Yeah.
instead of addressing what you've asked me, I'm just going to say, well, so and so did it too, or every politician is a criminal, blah blah blah.
Yep,
Well,
exactly. Oh, well, that's a good mic drop moment there. Every politician's a criminal. I'm not a crook. Um, yeah, that's a really good one, man. That that's a really good point. Damn, that I wish we had more time for that one, because it's like
yeah, that
that
probably
is a
could have
thing.
been an episode.
Mm-hmm. Well, because you can't dismiss you can't just dismiss somebody's criticism of somebody's actions by saying, "Well, but look at this guy. That
Right.
guy did that." So, but it's like, okay, yeah, well, so what?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, if imagine, well, okay, we're kind of going over time, but imagine if you were, I don't know, somebody murdered somebody, and they're like arrested and brought to trial and stuff, and the lawyers are lawyering and making their arguments, and the defense is like, well, yeah, I know he did that, he did kill that person, but this other person killed somebody too. So what about that?
Yeah.
Like, that's so stupid. Like, just all you have to do is shift some kind of scenario into a different box to
Yeah.
recognize how ludicrous it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good.
Maybe
That's a
that's why
really good
people
one.
never change their minds. They're
Nope.
constantly distracting one another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that should definitely be an episode, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might make it one. I don't know. We'll see. All right, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. It's going to be really interesting coming up with a thumbnail for this. But I'll see what I can do. All right. Well, we do this every week, and we have other videos, shorter videos, and somewhat longer videos. We do every week without fail, usually. So stick around, and I don't know, take care of yourselves out there.